When you are into running and you're into long distance running, there is a likelihood and a tendency for you to get into a very good rhythm, which
Okay.
eventually moves towards a state of meditation. It's called meditation in motion. So for that,
Okay.
at that point of time, you end up getting very interesting and new ideas. So a lot of my life ideas or my work ideas have happened while I've been running.
Hi everyone, Bitupan here. Welcome to Mindful Talks, where you get to meet a lot of people from various fields like health and wellness, spirituality, and personal development to talk about their knowledge and their experiences. My guest today is Mr. Mohit Chobey, who is a transformational business leader, international bestseller author, Ironman, and a TEDx speaker. He has participated in one of the most iconic marathons, the Comrades Marathon, the ultimate human race in South Africa, which covers a distance of 89 kilometers to be completed within 12 hours. He comes from an army background and hence always been enthusiastic about fitness. He is an Ironman and has participated in 6 Ironman triathlons. For those of you who do not know what is an Ironman triathlon is, let me give you an idea. It starts with 3.8 kilometers of swimming, 180 kilometers of cycling, and culminates in a marathon of 42.2 kilometers, an overall distance of 226 kilometers to be completed between 15.5 to 17 hours. And that's not on plain roads, but over mountains. This Ironman event came to limelight in India when one of the fitness icon Milan Suman had completed it. While training for Ironman, Mr. Mohit had a life-threatening experience. While training for swimming in Faridabad in a lake, he had to be taken out from the lake. But that did not make him lose his motivation. He has done 5 Ironman within a span of 12 months, 3 full and 2 half across 3 continents. He's also an author. His first in the trilogy of books titled 1000 Kilometers to Leadership is an international bestseller. The stories pivoted around his own life, stumbling upon running as means to transform his life and career. He is a business leader and has been in the corporate world for the past 22 years. Let's hear his story, get a lot of fitness tips, and also let's talk about his book. I'm excited to talk to him. Let's get started. Hello, Mr. Mohit. Thank you for joining. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Bitukun. Thanks for inviting me. I look forward to having the conversation with you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And you are such an inspiration. And uh, I also do wellness coaching. And one thing that really matters is that what is motivation and willpower. Okay, I
Okay.
usually tell my clients that motivation is very important. Even the willpower is important because the mind is actually controlling your body. First of all, I want to know, since you have participated and completed the Ironman, what was your motivation to do that? Can you share your story? Hmm.
Yeah, so prior to Ironman, I was an ultra marathon distance athlete. So I
Hmm.
had done the Comrades Ultra Marathon, which is conducted in South Africa. It's a 90-kilometer distance to be covered within 12 hours over hills.
Hmm.
And I had done that a couple of times. So I was conversant with ultra distances.
Hmm.
However, I was looking forward to challenging myself. And I realized that merely extending the distance in ultra marathon will not be something which will take me out of my comfort zone.
Hmm.
That's when I got to know about Ironman. This was, I think, so in the year 2015 or 14.
Hmm.
And I thought that this was something very unique. A, the pattern was very different. You were required to be excelling at 3 sports, not merely one. You were supposed to be a good swimmer, not just a good swimmer, an excellent swimmer, because you're supposed to swim in the ocean. You need to be a very strong cyclist. You'll be cycling 180 kilometers, and then obviously you need to be a runner because you'll culminate with a full marathon. So
Hmm.
the simple motivation was, how do I get myself out of the comfort zone and
Hmm.
try and achieve something which I had not imagined in all the life which I had lived till that time.
Hmm.
So the simple motivation was just to get me out of my comfort zone and achieve something tremendously different than what I thought I ever could.
Hmm. Hmm. There's a good question coming to my mind. Pushing you out of your comfort zone. So, why is it important and how does it make a difference in somebody's life? Can you throw some light on that?
Sure. For me, personally, if you stay in a comfort zone, the tendency is then you will decay. You will decay as an individual, you will decay as a person. It is
Hmm.
something which most of us don't realize, but there's nothing called status quo. Even in the status quo, our cells are degenerating. So if we are
Hmm.
merely being in one position, physically and figuratively, we are actually degenerating as individuals. For that
Hmm.
reason, it's very important for us to kind of keep on pushing our boundaries, because I think so. All of us out here are not merely to exist. I think so. We need to live. So for me, living is my biggest motivation factor. Living to all aspects of my individuality, all facets which are there in my my being. How do I ensure I maximize that? And the only way to maximize and be able to uncover them is only by pushing yourself out of the comfort zone. And that's a
Hmm.
mantra I keep repeating to myself. And I think it's become kind of a second nature for me.
Nice, nice. Even I do that. I also keep pushing myself out of comfort zone. Usually, my friends know, who knew me from my childhood. They know that I always keep trying different things, and I
Right,
like this sentence. We are not here just to exist. We are here to live. And
right.
yeah, that's a very nice one. I would like to know, how does your normal day look like? Your fitness routine, I'm talking about. What do you do?
So fitness has become a part of my life. It is integrated into my life. It is not something which I do. It is something which I have become.
Very
And
nice. Nice.
for me, typically, I work out at least 6 days a week,
Hmm.
and it's obviously because of COVID. Swimming is something which I'm not able to do, but
Hmm.
otherwise, I alternate between running and cycling in the mornings. And some of the days, I take out time in the evenings and do body weight training and weight training, because while I am primarily a triathlete, an amateur triathlete, but I'm also equally cognizant of the fact of creating body strength and body muscle mass. So because of which, my I typically end up having in a week maybe around 8 to 9 workout sessions.
Okay.
That's the amount of workouts I end up doing in a week.
Nice.
So it starts the day with that, and the rest of the day is between my professional commitments and my personal commitments. I tend to have not a very active social life, although in COVID, I think so that's become the norm for most people. But I don't normally don't party too much, although I do enjoy the company of friends and family. But that's predefined. That's kind of certain days I ensure I catch up with friends and family.
Hmm.
Uh, but it's basically about finding balance. So what I do is I try to remove all those elements which take away time from me without adding value to me. It's like every time you go for a buffet dinner, the tendency is to go and try everything out. In
Hmm.
the end, you might end up liking just 4 or 5 of the items which are available, but you will end up
Hmm.
having a routine.
Hmm.
I think in my stage of life, in my mental alignment, I have been able to identify the 4 or 5 things which give me pleasure, which help me move forward. And I
Hmm.
think that allows me to be able to balance my passion for sports, triathlon sports, as also my professional and personal commitments.
Mm-hmm. And how do you take out time? I mean, what do you deduct from your schedule? Can you give some more examples? You give one example of a buffet, but about the time
Yeah.
particularly, I'm asking.
So, like I said, I optimize my time very well. For me,
How? Huh.
going to sleep at a particular time is important. So, I
Hmm.
have this mantra because I've been a business leader for the past 22 years. I've been in the corporate world. I've been leading businesses since 2003, I think. Yeah. So, I've been
Hmm.
leading businesses for the last 17 years. And I keep
Hmm.
telling my team that the idea is not to count the hours, but to make the hours count. So, we
Hmm.
need to pack the maximum punch. And one of the ways to ensure that you leverage your time well is by removing distractions. So I think in
Hmm.
my life, what I have been able to do relatively well, or rather quite well, is that I have removed distractions, which I believe don't add value in my life. So for me, it's basically about work. It's basically about my writing, which I'm very focused upon, and my first book has already been published. It's
Hmm.
about spending time with my kids. That's paramount. So I will ensure that I spend time with them in dinner, or right now, because work from home is there, I end up spending my time with them during lunch. So I
Hmm.
try to ensure that I'm able to do a couple of activities, balance it out, and
Hmm.
which gives me enough time to to dedicate to my passion towards triathlon sports. So it's about balancing your life. It's when you do take up such big endeavors, when you want to do Ironman or you want to do bigger sports. The idea is obviously you end up dedicating a lot of time and energy to that, but more
Hmm.
importantly, you end up finding a way of balancing your life overall, removing things from your life which do not add value. You're very cognizant of it, and because of that, you are able to then crunch more things in your life which matter to you.
So let's talk about the balancing of life. You have two very different lives. One is a corporate world where you are mostly inside a cabin and in your formals and mostly static in the same place. And then you have another life where you do cycling, you do running, swimming. So physical balance is one thing, but how do you mentally prepare yourself? How do you mentally balance? How difficult or how easy is it for you to come out of one environment and then zone into the other environment?
I think adaptability is a prerequisite, and adaptability is a prerequisite not merely in the uh, sports world, but I think adaptability as a trait now is a norm for us to be surviving in the current world scenario. I
Hmm.
keep telling my sons that one of the skills which you need to have is that you need to be able to adapt to situations and evolve from there.
Hmm.
Availability of information and eventually aggregated into knowledge is something which is available on the click of a button. But
Hmm.
for us to be really successful, it is our ability on how we are able to utilize that knowledge. And that typically happens if you have an adaptable frame towards life. And that's something which I try to incorporate. So even in my work environment, I do kind of spend some time sitting back and thinking. And at the same time, while I'm running, there are a lot of times during the running process that I end up having unique ideas which might be relevant to my work or might be relevant to life. And there's a reason and science behind it. When you are into running and you're into long distance running, there is a likelihood and a tendency for you to get into a very good rhythm, which
Okay.
eventually moves towards a state of meditation. In the state of meditation is when you start getting up with new ideas. I've
Okay.
actually coined a term. It's called meditation in motion. So for me, running is meditation in motion. Basically, the rhythm, the focus merely on the breath, and
Hmm.
your legs and your body then move with a certain rhythm based on
Hmm.
the energy which is there. You're not even actually conscious of it many a time when you're doing that. And in those moments, you start getting new ideas because your mind is decluttered and it's in a very relaxed frame of affairs. And
Okay.
at that point of time, you end up getting very interesting and new ideas. So for me, a lot of my life ideas or my work ideas have happened while I've been running. And so, like I said, I end up integrating possibly all aspects of my life.
Very nice. So is it like ideas come out when we are in the shower or when we are going to sleep? So is it the same or you have much better ideas that come out when you are running? Do you
See,
get
I'll tell you,
ideas while showering or while going to sleep?
yeah, possibly while showering and while sleep, you may get ideas because possibly you are in a bit more relaxed state.
Hmm.
But what happens while you're running, while your body is under physical stress, your mind is in a relaxed state and it is in a meditative state.
Oh,
It is in a
nice.
deeply conscious state. And
Hmm.
because you're in a very deeply conscious state, the kind of learnings, the kind of eureka moments which you get out there, I think so are qualitatively different than what you
Hmm.
might get when you are merely in a relaxed state of affairs. This
Hmm.
is beyond relaxation. This is I think so akin to deep thinking, and that deep thinking comes because the chaos has been removed from your surroundings. The chaos has been removed from your mind. The background noise is not there, and it is in a much higher state of awareness, which allows you to kind of get these ideas.
Hmm. Nice. And let's talk about diet. How does your diet look like?
Well, I tend to I try to have very less of sugar, and basically I try to have non-processed sugar, which is basically through fruits and others. I avoid having processed sugar.
Hmm.
That's something which I try to be very particular about. There are times when I let go and maybe I end up putting on a couple of kilos extra than I would like to. But on the whole, it is about moderation in your food. Your protein intake needs to be strong because the muscle wear and tear is significant in the sports which we undertake. And replenishment of the muscles through protein intake becomes paramount. You can always decide to be vegetarian or non-vegetarian, but you
Hmm.
need to have that. The diet tends to have a higher carbohydrate component as it goes closer to any specific events or runs which are planned. For me, one such event was I ran 100 kilometers a couple of weeks back. So this was to commemorate the soldiers who died in Rezangla in 1962 and against the Chinese intrusion and invasion.
Hmm.
And so to commemorate that event, I did a 100-kilometer run. So
Okay.
prior to that, I was on extremely high carbohydrate intake.
Hmm. Okay. And I want to talk about the mind. Okay. Because I usually, whenever I get some guests, whenever possible, I take out this topic of mind. I think many people, many fitness enthusiasts and athletes, they can do something like an Ironman, or they can participate, or forget about Ironman, any other such sports events. They can participate, but they're not able to convince their mind. They're physically, in other words, they're physically prepared or mentally not prepared. So how to convince the mind that you can do it, and how exactly you have trained your mind?
So, like I said, you need to take steps, iterative steps. I
Okay.
will not comment whether a person is ready to run a half marathon or a full marathon or an ultra
Hmm.
or an Ironman, but
Hmm.
each one of us is capable of a certain athletic capability with our current level of fitness.
Hmm.
And at any point of time, the current level of fitness will, it might be as simple a thing as 5 kilometer run, but
Hmm.
people believe that a 5 kilometer is something which is out of their syllabus.
Hmm.
Too often, it is the result of the fact that your immediate surroundings give you a perception that this is out of syllabus. I think so.
Okay.
That is slowly kind of getting away in India because you see so many runners, so you see so many marathoners and now ultra marathoners also. So your the sense of belief starts creeping in that it is humanly possible. So
Hmm.
for me, two things have worked. A, exposure to such surroundings, to such individuals, to such situations. B, my willingness to push myself and to push my boundaries even a little bit. And I think that's something which people need to understand, that you don't need to push your boundaries all the time. But if you do start giving it a nudge every now and then, you will start getting a bit out of your comfort zone and you will start realizing that if you were able to do X yesterday, you are possibly being able to do 1.5x today. And
Hmm.
this journey is evolutionary. You can suddenly start, going into 3x and 5x, because there comes a tipping point when your sense of belief gets married off with your physical attributes and capabilities, and then suddenly it takes off, and you will be surprised at the way the trajectory takes over. So, two things, my
Acha.
suggestion: A, get exposed to such situations, surroundings, and people. B, just push your boundaries a little bit, take it step at a time. You will be surprised at what you can achieve.
Nice. Actually, this works in any aspect of life. One step at a time, instead of just seeing the complete goal. Just take smaller steps. Right? Steps are
Take
actually
small steps,
adding.
and also accept in your mind that sometimes you might take two steps forward and one backward, which is okay.
Huh.
That is also part of the learning process. That is also inbuilt into the
Hmm.
journey. The journey is not always forward. The journey can sometimes be about taking two steps forward and one backward. That's acceptable, and not merely acceptable, that is possibly a scripted part of the learning process.
Nice. All right. So now let's come to your book. So this is your first
Right.
book. It's a trilogy, right? This is the first part.
It's a trilogy, yeah. This is the first in the trilogy
Uh,
of the books. This is called 1,000 Kilometers to Leadership.
and why did you decide to write a book? How did you become an author? Can you share that journey?
I think expression of thought is something which is paramount to me, although I am primarily an introvert by nature. But expression of thought through verbal means or written means is something which I think I have carried forward in me for a long period. The trigger to write this book actually happened once I culminated my first Comrades Ultra Marathon, which was way back in 2014. And I distinctly remember once I finished the race,
In South
my
Africa?
phone, this was in South Africa.
Uh-huh.
Once I finished the race, my wife called me on my phone, and while she was gushing and congratulating me on my achievement, I did not have words to respond. The plethora of emotions which were there and playing in my mind were very difficult to articulate. I think so. That was the trigger point when I realized that I needed to put my thoughts onto paper and to take people through this amazing journey which I had experienced, which was a uh, evolutionary for me. It was a learning process, but it was also a very joyful process. So to put all these aspects and share it with a broader community is something which triggered the need for me to put this in a book, and that's where my author journey started. And I was wouldn't say pleasantly surprised, but I was pleased by the kind of response the book got, including the fact that it has been in the bestseller list. And some of my very close friends, but my toughest critiques, have actually given it a 5 star. So from that perspective, it is very gratifying to see that what you thought made wonderful story for you actually made a wonderful story for people around you also.
Hmm. Nice. And I think this book is not just about the fitness, it's 1,000 kilometers to leadership. So it means how can you use your fitness in your life and career, right?
Actually, it's a bit more than that.
Okay.
The book is about life.
Hmm.
The book is not about fitness. The
Hmm.
book is not about running. The canvas is running. So if
Okay.
you say the canvas is very clearly running, and within the running canvas, the Comrades Ultra Marathon is the primary canvas which is there.
Hmm.
But the book is all about life. It's about the travails of life, the ups and downs of life,
Hmm.
what it throws at you,
Hmm.
how you can navigate all those issues, and
Hmm.
how do you come out not merely successful, but replenished and happy out of the
Hmm.
whole process. So it's all about life with the background of running. And as such, the audience for the book, I think so, it's very broad based. Anybody who wanting to have a refreshing approach towards life or wanting to kind of see some aspects resonate in the book can pick it up and use it as a tool to kind of be entertained, or can be used as a tool to enhance your personal growth. It depends on you how you want to take it forward, but it's available for you to kind of make the most out of it.
Nice. I'll put the link of your book below. And before I ask my last question, I just came to my mind that how did your 20s look like? I mean, you were definitely must be a fitness enthusiast, but what kind of physical activities did you used to do in your 20s?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay.
So you will get to know more about it in my book. So during my teenage years and up to my college,
Uh,
I think I was reasonably fit and reasonably active.
okay.
The 20s were dedicated to corporate life and dedicated to the extent that I used to work 7 days a week
Oh,
voluntarily.
okay.
And I was a workaholic, and I was the best example of a workaholic. It so happened that when I turned 29 years old, just before my 30th birthday, I had the first shock in my life that I had a high blood pressure.
Oh.
And that was the jolt for me to say, you know what, life is much more beyond corporate life, and you need to look at it holistically. And if you are not even physically and mentally equipped to enjoy life, then merely fulfilling one aspect of it is not something which will, really provide you joy. So it was a big jolt for me, but that big jolt helped me traverse a very different journey henceforth. So my 20s, very inactive, extremely active in the corporate space.
Nice. Okay, so to conclude, sir, any last words of wisdom for the viewers?
So I don't know what wisdom I will provide, but I will just tell them that life is it's multifaceted. I think so. That's something which each one of us needs to be aware of. And for the younger, youthful audience which will be viewing this, yes, there will be a certain priority you will be providing to your careers. There'll be a certain priority you'll be providing to your partners, to your social life. But in the process, do not ignore the fact that you have a much longer life, and the quality of that life will be a function of how mentally and physically robust you are. So do not neglect it as something which can happen later. You can always pick up the gauntlet early in life and reap the benefits, not merely in terms of when you're getting old, and the definition of old has changed a lot, but also in terms of enjoying each aspect of your life completely, mentally, and physically. So that's something which I would kind of share with all of you. And if you want a trigger, you can use my book as a trigger point for you to, leapfrog into a new and much more refreshed individual, which I'm sure each one of you would want to be.
Nice. I think we can put the very first sentence also you said. Do not live your life. Do not just exist.
Yep.
Very nice. Okay. Then thank you so much, sir. It was really nice talking to you. I think viewers will get a lot of motivation from you. So thank you so much
Thanks
for
a lot.
joining.
It was my pleasure. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.